So this is likely the last video we ever put up here on this channel for PlayStation Source in the year 2018. So I just want to say thank you for all of those that have supported us throughout the year. It's been an incredibly successful year. I feel, in my opinion, it's been a great year, and I really do appreciate all the support that you guys have given us and allowed us to do and create all of our good stuff that we make around PlayStation content. So thank you all for all of the support, and I say, let's just get right into it. So what is going on, guys? For the last time in 2018, it is your boy TKD123 here, and today we have a little topic here that, yes, although now this channel is on break for the holiday, I did have to make a video about this topic because I just thought it was so interesting and so intriguing, and I think it could lead to a lot of different things, and maybe it really just kind of just paints a tale of this game as of right now. And so it is involving PlayStation's next big exclusive, and that is Days Gone. And so I think the best place to start in this video is really just laying out that, within PlayStation exclusive games, multiplayer isn't really something that a lot of people think about when they think of big, massive Sony exclusives, right? And so really the only big one, and I feel like the only multiplayer that really has a lot of foothold in the overall game space of the PlayStation type of fan base and everything, is The Last of Us back in 2013. I think that, that multiplayer has a ton of people that are still on it. A lot of people love The Last of Us multiplayer. It kind of has this cult following, but other than that, I guess you could maybe say Killzone as well, even though Killzone I feel doesn't get talked about a lot in terms of multiplayer and everything. It's just that, a lot of PlayStation games really do not have a lot of really good, solid multiplayer experiences, and I feel like that is something that I know I like to see be kind of improved and worked on in the future, and have a little bit more of a insight where they're probably looking a little bit more at multiplayer and hoping that, they can increase longevity of a game through its multiplayer and stuff like that, and just make a really good multiplayer mode, because I feel like that's something that's missing a lot in terms of this generation, in terms of exclusives for Sony. Of course, we have incredible exclusives under the PlayStation lineup. We have covered them non-stop this year and the year before, and we all know very well that in terms of exclusives, PlayStation has the bag. They are very solid on that. God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Bloodborne, etc., all that and third, this, that, all that, whatever, Horizon as well. We are good on exclusive single player experiences. That's really where a lot of the PlayStation exclusives kind of skew towards, and that's kind of where their genre is. A lot of the exclusives that they have are, really big, massive, only one player games that are very narrative driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But there is some, hope from a lot of people, including myself, that we have a little bit more of an emphasis on a multiplayer mode going into the future in terms of Sony exclusive games. But going back onto how this all ties into Days Gone, there was an article that released this week that was laying out that Days Gone originally had been pitched a multiplayer mode, however it was rejected by Sony. And this info comes to us from an interview with the CEO of the World War Z developer Saber Interactive with GamesBeat as well. And so they were having an interview, and he revealed that they actually did come to Ben's studio with a multiplayer mode in mind, however they ultimately rejected the pitch. And the CEO of Saber Interactive said, quote, "At some point I went to Sony and said, I've seen what you're doing with Days Gone, look what we're doing with World War Z. Maybe we can help you with a multiplayer component." But they were obviously too focused, and understandably, on what they needed to do to get the game out. Then he went back to continue to explain, quote, "We were already under development when we heard about it. Of course we took a deep sigh when Sony is going to be putting behind major marketing dollars behind a title that's highlighting the swarms the way they were. It took a little wind out of our sails. But since then, they've focused less on those swarm elements and more, I think, on the story aspect of their game." And so to me, just that last quote really does kind of tell an interesting tale, that they were a little bit, scared and hesitant, and, took a deep sigh when they saw Days Gone be revealed by Sony and PlayStation. And of course, they knew very much well that they would have a ton of dollars to put in marketing for that game, for Days Gone, and have it be just this big, huge deal and everything. And that's a comparison I think a lot of other people made in terms of the swarm size and the amount of, freakers or, zombie-esque type of entities in Days Gone. It looked a lot like World War Z to me as well, and so definitely I see where they could be a little bit more, scared, if you will, in terms of this game coming out. And it just, I don't know, because to me it seems a little bit cutthroat in a way for them to then go up to, you know, Sony Bend and Sony in general and pitch a multiplayer idea for this game and kind of help and maybe potentially be a co-developer on this game. I don't know, it just felt a little bit weird to me. I'm not sure, you know, that's just an interesting play, and so maybe that has something to do with Sony denying them that this sort of ability to make the multiplayer mode for Days Gone. Maybe they thought it was a little bit of a weird, interesting move and strategic and somewhat maybe backstabby move for them to develop a, you know, multiplayer mode for a game. But obviously, if you play devil's advocate and say that, you know, for some reason Saber Interactive was super, you know, hurt about them making a Days Gone type of game that had a bunch of different hordes of zombies the same way that World War Z does, maybe they wanted to go in and see if they can you know, finesse a multiplayer mode off of Days Gone and then make it horrible and make it trash. But obviously, you know, Sony and I believe Sony Bend would make it very clear as day that the multiplayer component was made by Saber Interactive. So if it's trash, blame Saber, do not blame Bend Studio. So I think it'd be just not solving anything if Saber Interactive were to make a multiplayer component for Days Gone that was horrible, you know, and I think that that's not what they want to do, and I don't think that that's what they want their studio to be known for. So that's a little bit weird, but I just think it's overall just really weird how you can say that you took a deep sigh after seeing Days Gone and everything, and then want to reach out to them and make a multiplayer mode. You know, I don't know. It just seems a little, maybe that is the pessimist to me. I'm not sure, but that just seems a little bit odd to me personally as to why they would do that. Obviously, you know, maybe that deep sigh, of course, what it probably most likely is that Days Gone just looked very similar to World War Z, and so obviously that's a little bit upsetting when you have a major game that you've been working on for years on end and stuff, and then you see you know, a few months down the road that another bigger AAA studio is making a game that's similar as well to yours. And so obviously I can see where that could be a little bit of an issue there, but ultimately Sony decided on not allowing them to create a multiplayer component for Days Gone, and I would love to just know what this would have been. What do you guys think this could have been? Like, do you think it could have been a, you know, more of a co-op type of thing where maybe you have a bunch of different people in a given world space and you are doing different missions and stuff like that? Maybe you're completing different daily challenges or those world events like we have in Destiny where they just pop up out of nowhere. Maybe they were doing live events of some sort, or maybe it would have been a traditional type of multiplayer where we have TDM and domination and captures the flag maybe, or something like that. And maybe for it to make sense narratively within the compounds of the game's story, maybe you have one team that is John St. Deacon, I think that's his name, John, right? St. Deacon's you know, other biker gang, you know, that you are playing as, and then there's another gang as well that you are fighting off against, or maybe it's another faction of some sort that is in the narrative of the story mode. Maybe perhaps that could have been it, not sure. I don't know if that would necessarily fit. I think maybe the first one would probably fit more if it was co-op. I think co-op would have been a much better fit in this game perhaps, but it would have been cool, I think, to see at least see what this is at, and I would love to see what they pitched to Sony Bend and Sony in general. I would love to see what they actually wanted to do with Days Gone in terms of multiplayer, but most importantly, what do you guys think they would have done with this multiplayer mode? Do you think it would have been a more co-op style type of thing? Do you think it was going to be a more traditional, you know, where you have just multiplayer modes like TDM and domination and capture the flag, etc.? What do you guys think it was going to be down in the comments below? But whatever it was going to be, right, let's just also lay out this fact here that most times, generally speaking, when you have multiplayer modes of a game that are made separate from the game's main story developer, things get a little dicey in terms of that mode. Now obviously I'm speaking in general terms here. This isn't for every game that has a, you know, different developer for the multiplayer components of that game. It's not always, but I would wager to bet that most times, often than not, when you have another developer for the online components of your game, it just feels a little bit disjointed. And obviously that makes sense. Like when when you have two different developers that have two different styles of coding, two different ways of programming, two different ways of just making the game overall, yeah, you guys might share the same overall kind of control set and everything and stuff like that, and some of those things that are just intrinsic to that game, different like different weapon layouts and stuff like that, the control scheme, there will be some things that obviously have to stay the same. But when it comes to terms of just other things that are more subjective and up to the just design elements of that studio, I think then is where you get that disjointed feeling. I think maybe Days Gone could have suffered that as well. They could have suffered that same fate as well. And so I see a lot of people actually, kind of happy about this whole thing because they would rather not have it than have a disjointed type of really bad subsect of the game that could kind of hinder its score and hinder its overall reception from the overall standpoint of everyone that played it and everything. And so I definitely understand that standpoint. I still would have liked to at least seen what they would have done, but overall, just with that fact that most times when you have another developer for a multiplayer mode of a single player game that's made by the main studio, and the multiplayer mode for that game is not made by that main studio, it usually turns to a not good multiplayer mode, usually speaking. So I'm glad that we can avoid that here with Days Gone, even though most likely I feel like the Days Gone multiplayer would have been very much a co-op experience, which I think would have been really cool for Days Gone and PlayStation as a whole. I'm glad that we are not getting it in this state at least. And so that is all I got to say about these Days Gone multiplayer dilemma. Let me know what you can see in the comments below. Do you guys think that it would have been a good multiplayer? Would you have liked to seen it? What would you like to see it be if it were actually happening? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. And make sure also while you are down there to check out our description where you can find the Instagram and try to follow us on there. Make sure to also follow our Discord as well. We have a ton of people in the Discord server. They're loving it a lot. I like it personally a lot. It's a great way for me to directly connect to the fans and stuff like that. So if you are interested in joining the Discord server, make sure to follow that link in the description and join that server today because it's really cool. I like it a lot. Definitely fun to have that there. And that's all I got. Thank you for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.